Are you trying to win at the wrong game? Are you measuring yourself against other people's scorecards? Because the people that seem to be winning aren't always playing better. They're probably playing a different game altogether. So grab your cup of tea and let's talk about the infinite game. Do you find yourself feeling like you're being left behind? You're comparing yourself to your peers, your colleagues, and maybe even people on the other side of the world who you haven't ever met, and feeling like you haven't quite made the progress that they seem to be making. Today, I want to talk about how you can completely reframe your thinking to play a different game altogether. One where you actually do get that winning feeling no matter where you are in your progress so far. So, let's talk about the infinite game, because this is the place where comparison completely loses its power and you have more momentum than ever. So, what is the infinite game? The infinite game was an idea that I first learned about in Simon Sinek's book with the same name, The Infinite Game. And he was really trying to promote this idea of the long game in leaders and in businesses. And it's something that I've really applied to my own professional development as well. It was an idea that really resonated with me. And it wasn't originally Simon Sinek's idea, though he made this very popular. The idea came from James Krass, who wrote the book Finite and Infinite Games. So let's compare the idea of finite games to infinite games. So a finite game is a scenario where there are known players, there are fixed rules, for example, and there are agreed upon objectives that when those are reached, it essentially ends the game. So let's compare that to an infinite game. And an infinite game is characterized by having both known and unknown players. It has no exact rules. How players choose to play can change at any time. There is no finish line. So there is no such thing as winning. So this is what creates the idea of the infinite game. The primary objective, therefore, becomes to keep playing the game, to perpetuate the game. When we compare ourselves to other people's titles, to their income, to their job opportunities, to the businesses that they have seen success in, to their social media stats, we are often measuring our progress against someone else's peak. So instead of getting caught up in this idea of immediate results and immediate wins, this is where the idea of an infinite game can be so powerful. So your mindset shift for an infinite game is when you're focused instead on enduring over quick wins, when you're focused on the idea of evolution as opposed to arriving at the finish line, when you're focused on the idea of playing the game as opposed to the pressure from the game, the pressure to win in the game. You are playing the game for the love of the game. And it's that long game thinking that's actually going to pay off more likely in the long term. Sinek says, "We can't simply go to the gym for 9 hours and expect to be in shape. However, if we go to the gym every single day for 20 minutes, we will absolutely be in shape." Consistency becomes more important than intensity. And I personally think one of the best modern day examples of someone playing the infinite game comes from Mr. Beast and the way that he has approached YouTube, which is something that I talked about recently in my episode on your future self strategy, and this idea of projecting yourself into the future and playing the long game for whatever it is that you are trying to achieve. And I spoke about how Mr. Beast created his Future Self series from his bedroom when he was just a high schooler and had around 8,000 subscribers. This was before he became the biggest creator on YouTube within less than 10 years. And he now has over 500 million subscribers on one YouTube channel alone. He has multiple platforms as well. but he was playing the long game. So at the time when he recorded these videos to his future self, he had no idea that he was going to see the magnitude of success that he saw, but he was really focused on the long game. He was focused on playing the game, on his love of the game. But he was, relatively speaking, compared to some other creators on the platform at the time, an unknown player. Yet he would completely change the rules of the game. So it was really characteristic of someone who is playing the infinite game. And I also talked about Mr. Beast's mindset in another episode that I shared recently about your knowledge advantage, where I had seen in an interview that he was discussing how he believes that YouTube is a knowledge game, and he believes that he'll always be able to dominate on the channel because he is prepared to play the knowledge game in a way that a lot of other people wouldn't be willing to do. And what I really took out of his interview was that he is truly playing this infinite game. He has no sense of a rival. He is playing to continue to play the game, to perpetuate the game. And he's not concerned with the other players that might arrive into the game or how they might change the game, because he's playing his own game anyway. So while he still wants to dominate in that space, he does it from a different perspective, that no matter what angle he comes at it with, because he is playing this infinite game, he knows that he is going to win. He's motivated by his love of YouTube, by this idea of a just cause, which is something else that Simon Sinek talks about in his book. So that is my point too. I want to talk more about this idea of what a just cause is. So Simon Sinek essentially is differentiating what a just cause is compared to this idea of having a why. Now, you might have heard the phrase to find your why, because this was something that he himself really popularized in his book, Start With Why. But the difference that he describes a just cause being is that your why is usually something that is related to the past. It might be something that is derived from your origin story. It might be something related to your values or your beliefs. Whereas your just cause is something that is future orientated. Simon Sinek says, a just cause is a specific vision of a future state that does not yet exist, a future state so appealing that people are willing to make sacrifices in order to help advance towards that vision. So let's compare someone who doesn't have a just cause mindset to someone who does. So for example, someone with no just cause in their mindset, so they have a finite mindset, may say, I want a promotion this year. They might say, I want to earn more. They might say, I want to move companies for a better title. Or I want to grow my social media dramatically this year. These are all outcomes. They're not a direction. They don't play the infinite game. So let's compare someone with a just cause mindset who is playing an infinite game. So for example, instead of saying, I want a promotion this year, they might instead say, I want to consistently operate at my next level, redefine the status quo, and be rewarded for my value. Instead of saying they want to earn more, they might say, I want to completely reshape how our industry views our profession and be rewarded for my impact. Instead of simply saying, I want to move companies for a better title, they might have the mindset of, I want to own a piece of mental real estate in an audience's mind. So they're not as concerned with their title, they're concerned with being known for a particular field of expertise or being known for a particular idea, which also leads nicely into my next comparison, which is instead of saying something like, I want to grow my social media dramatically this year, they might instead think, I want to market a movement and build communities. So these examples are all future orientated. They're all focused on this idea of ongoing work, of playing the infinite game. When you play the infinite game, it takes the pressure off. Comparison immediately loses its power, and you're doing more meaningful and more impactful work. Work where you know you're going to be winning in the long term. Thanks so much. Subscribe for more like this, and I'll see you in the next episode.